I continue my series about using different tools for using AJAX with your Python projects. And in this video I wanted to show how to send basic AJAX asynchronous GET and POST request from a browser using Fetch API to a Django application. When I am clicking on the green button, browser sends a GET request to my Django app and gets a random number from 1 to 10. When I click on a card, browser sends a POST request to the Django app and gets the float version of the sent numbers, and everything is happening without the page reloading. So I have here a very basic Django project. It has the only one app, digits, and only one URL pattern that says that all requests to the root address will be handled by the AJAX handler class. And the AJAX handler class just renders to a user the index.html template as a response to his GET request. In its turn, the index template has a button, this green button, and also there are two empty unordered lists on the page, the left and the right lists, left and right. In the index template I also have attached Bootstrap and a CSS file to add some styles for list item tags. To load my custom CSS, first of all I added to the settings.py file the static files dirs variable, and then loaded the static tag into the template. Okay, as the video is about Fetch API, I'm going to create the main.js file. Static folder, main.js. And let's add it to the bottom of the index.html file, somewhere before the closing body tag. And now let's start with something very simple. So I got a button on the page and I want to get the hello world message when I'll click on the button. To do it, first of all I have to set an onclick handler on the button. So let's add to the button a special onclick attribute. And the value of the onclick attribute is the function that will be called when the user clicks the button. Let's say it'll be the getNumber function. And let's call it. And now we have to define the getNumber function in the main.js file. There are several ways to do it, and let's do it the following way. I'm creating a new variable getNumber using the const keyword. And this getNumber variable gets an anonymous function as an argument. This function doesn't accept any arguments, and so we can use just round brackets. Then we have to use an arrow, a special syntax to complete the definition of the function. This arrow has no special meaning like a returning value, it's just a syntax. And after the arrow we have to describe the body of the function. I wanted to call console log function with the hello world message. It's only one statement, and so we can omit using curly braces. And we can see the hello world message. Our simple function works. The next step. Now let's say that when a user clicks on this green button, the browser should send an AJAX request to the server, to my Django app, and Django should generate a random number and return it back to the user. So let's start with the front end part, and in the body of the getNumber function I'm going to call the fetch function to make requests to Django app. So this time I need curly braces. I'm defining the response variable, and the response variable will be the result of the fetch function, but to call it we have to use the await keyword, because the fetch function is an asynchronous function, and accordingly the getNumber function should be asynchronous too. Async. or we can use this definition. So the first argument of the fetch function is the URL to send the request to. It'll be a root address. The second argument is an object with the other parameters of the request. The method key. It'll be the get method, get request. Then the headers, it's a dictionary too. And I want to use the x requested with and the content type headers. We will get the response from Django, and now let's convert the response to JSON object. We have to wait when the promise that the fetch function returns will be resolved. And so let's console log the data variable. And now the Django side. Here let's import the rand_int function from the random module. And then in the get method of the AJAX handler class, let's get the random value from 1 to 10. So number will be. Then I'm going to send to the front end the random number, and my response to the client side should be a JSON serializable object with a certain headers. And the easiest way to make such response is to use the JSON response class. So from and let's return the number variable to front end. And the get method of my view will return an instance of the JSON response class with a dictionary with the number key, and its value is the number variable. But if I refresh the page, the browser will generate a GET request to the root URL, and instead of my page, we will get the number, random number. And to fix it, I have to check whether the request was an AJAX request or not. And Django, since the third version, has no isAJAX method anymore. And so we have to check a request's headers. If request headers, I need to get the x requested with header, and if its value is equal to XML HTTP request, so I want to generate the number and return the JSON response. Otherwise, I want to render the index template. Let's test it again. We got the page. Let's click the button, and we can see objects with random numbers. And now let's append these numbers to the unordered list with the left ID. So I need the main.js file, and to do it, first of all, I have to get the unordered list with the left ID, this one. And I'm going to do it using the getElementById function. Now let's create a new list item tag. And then let's assign to its inner HTML attribute the value of the number key from the data object which we got from Django. And finally, let's append this list item tag to the UL tag. So UL left. I'm calling the append child method, and it gets the list item. Let's test it. And we got cards in our unordered list. The next step is to send a post request by clicking on the cards. And the idea is absolutely the same, but this time I have to use the post method and create a body of request. And in this case, it's convenient to separate the making a request functionality into a new function. So let's create a new function, and let's say it'll be the makeRequest function, and it will take URL, method, and body as arguments. And now let's move to this function, all code regarded with making requests. Cut and paste it here. Then, instead of the get string in the method key, let's assign the method variable, this one. And above the fetch function call, let's define the headers object. And let's move the content here. And the headers will get the headers variable as the value. And also the fetch function should take the body as an argument. And finally this function will return the data. Return. That's it. And in the getNumber function, let's call the makeRequest function. So const data makeRequest, and the URL will be root address, and the method will be get. Let's test. Okay, nothing changed. And now I want to get a number from the cards by clicking on it and send this number to Django with an AJAX POST request and get from a Django a floated version of it. Let's create a new function. It will be get float number, for example. And this function will take an event object from the browser as an argument, e or event. Then, to get the number from the last item on which the click occurred, I have to use the event object. It has the target attribute. So let's get the number, and I'm using the event object. I need its target attribute. The target is an element. And I need its inner text. And then again, we have to make a request to Django. Let's call the makeRequest function. This time the URL will be the root address, the method will be post, and the body parameter will be an object with the number key. The value of this number key will be number variable. This one. And I want to convert the object to a JSON string with a JSON stringify method. Let's wrap it. JSON stringify. The next step. Django requires to include a CSRF token for post requests. And the easiest way to get a CSRF token is to add a CSRF token tag to a template. So let's open the index template, and somewhere here, actually it doesn't matter where exactly, somewhere here, let's add the CSRF token. And Django will convert this tag into an input tag with the CSRF middleware token name. So let's get its value. I need the makeRequest function, and then above the fetch function call and below the headers variable, I want to check whether the method is post or not. If the method is post method, I want to get the value of the input tag with the CSRF middleware token name. Let's get it. And this time, instead of the getElementById function, I want to use the querySelector function. We got the input tag, and let's get its value. And after that, let's add a new header to the headers object. Headers, new key will be CSRF token, and it gets the CSRF variable as the value. That's it with the CSRF protection. Okay, we got a response from Django, and now let's create a new list item element and assign to its inner text attribute the value we got from the Django. And then let's add this list item to the UL tag with the right ID. So first of all, I'm going to get the UL tag with the right ID. Then I have to repeat the steps I did in the getNumber function. So let's create a new list item tag. We can just copy this line, and then let's assign to its inner text the value we got from Django. So list item inner text or inner HTML. I have to await when the promise will be resolved, and then I need the float key. Let's say that we will get an object with the float key, but it's completely up to you. And then let's append this list item tag to the UL right unordered list. And the final step I have to do, I have to set the event listener on the card on a list item tag in the left UL tag. We can do it in the getNumber function, somewhere here. I am calling the addEventListener method and passing to it the event I want to listen, the click event. And the second argument is the handler of the event, the getFloatNumber function. As an object, I don't call it. And that's it, and now let's turn back to the Django side. Django class-based views can have a post methods that accept post requests. And so in the post method I have to get the value from the post request. As you probably know, all parameters of post requests are stored in the request object in its post dictionary if the form data is provided. In my example, I don't use a form, and it means that the body of the request will be the body attribute of the request object. So the data variable will be just request body. But I have to deserialize the body of the request to a Python dictionary. I can do it with the loads function from the JSON module. Let's import it. The loads function returns a dictionary, and I want to get the value of the number key and cast it to the float data type. So the float number variable will be float, and I need the value of the number key of the data dictionary. And the returning value will be a JSON response object. I want to use the float key, and the value will be an F string, something like you got float number. I used the float key because in the getFloatNumber function I said that the object from Django response will have the float key. And so let's test it. Header is not defined. Main.js 39. Typo. Headers dictionary. And again. Okay. It's working. So, if you like this Django Basic AJAX with the Fetch API function, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Telegram, and thanks for watching.